Yeah, that's right. I can edit this out.
No, please do. Please do.
Talking retirement junk.
So, well, hello, travelers. My name is Rick, and this is Brian.
I'm Brian.
And we're in Brian's studio. And we thought that we would just say hello in person to you and try to give you a preview, I guess, of some things that are going to happen before we actually all get on a plane and go over to Scotland.
And hang out together. Rick and I were just in my living room talking about this, what we want to talk about here. And some of this might have to do with a little bit of easing anxiety that you might have about what we're going to do.
Yeah, especially if you haven't done a whole lot of writing, or you haven't done a whole lot of drawing or painting or even photography, and you feel like, everybody's going to know more than me about it. Cease all of those worries.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For one thing, this isn't a class. We're all adult learners now. This has nothing to do with our former lives as MSU professors. But we are kind of bringing a kind of a little template to this trip that we used when we did take students overseas, and it basically had to do with taking advantage of some of those disruptions that happen with you when you're traveling, and pour them into the creative work that you're doing.
Yeah. I think we get so used to being in places we have habits in the places we inhabit. Our homes, our studios. We just get into habits, and those habits are usually really healthy and good in terms of production. Mm-hmm. But travel, I think, kind of, at least based on our experience of previous trips with students and things, and our own trips as well, going somewhere kind of pulls you out of those habits, and it's really healthy for your art. It's an incredible disruption, I think, that usually results in, maybe it might be a month down the road or 6 months, but usually results in something really positive.
Yeah, and one thing for me as a writer, that I sort of created when I was thinking about what can help me when I'm disrupted, and what can help my students when I'm disrupted, is something that kind of compensates for the disruption. So, for instance, if you're a writer and you go to your study every day at 9 o'clock with your cup of coffee, and you come out 2 hours later and you have a product, and that's not going to happen anymore because you're traveling.
Right.
What can you do that can still sort of get you started on a project, whether it's visual or whether it's with words. And so I know I'm going to come up with some easy prompts, to maybe get you started. I mean, my philosophy is, once you get started, once you get the first 1 or 2 or 3 sentences down, then whatever you're working on will create its own momentum, and you'll kind of ride that wave afterwards.
Yeah.
And so I think at some point we're going to be sending your way some simple sort of prompts, visual or linguistic, to kind of get you going.
Yeah, I'm going to send you some. Rick and I have very similar teaching philosophy, and I also would add that think of us not as teachers, but as tour guides. And we're not tour guides showing you around Iona, but we're tour guides showing you around the art that we do, that we are writing and are painting. And so we're not judging. We will never judge. We're not grading or anything. So I think just kind of cast those worries aside that you're going to be somehow scrutinized. That you're not going to be, because we're in a new place too. It's interesting. Rick and I. Well, you've been there before, but it's a new experience for us as well. So
and one of the nice things about the way this trip is set up too is that the travel company is going to have a local person in each place that we are at to take care of some of those things that you might be interested in, like, what's the history of this place, and then that frees us to be sort of just like your creative companions, whatever it is you're working on. I mean, I'll feed you. I think I've already, fed you a couple of ideas about nice restaurants in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and we're happy to kind of share ideas about that. And I have been to Iona twice, and it's for me a real magical place. And we do know that some of you are especially interested in Iona for its kind of place in Celtic sort of history, and the history of the religious history of that part of the world. And but the nice thing is that there will be people at each stage of our trip that whose responsibility is to sort of give you some of that kind of historical and cultural kind of context.
And one other thing I was also wanted just to kind of tie in with what Rick was talking about a little bit ago. I will also be sending you some prompts, perhaps, or some videos for sure of some technical things, how to get kind of going on a watercolor, so that you can practice before we even go if you want to. I will also be sending you a link from a art supply website based store that called Jerry's Artorama. They have a teacher's cart thing that I'll send you the link to, and I'll have specific things in there for you to purchase if you like to take on the trip, travel watercolor kits and things like that. So don't worry about any of that. And like I said, I'll be posting some short YouTube videos. I already have a bunch of them that I did for my class that I taught online last year, but they're kind of different. I don't know if they would kind of work for our situation, but they were more for students, and I don't know if they'd work for us. So I'm going to shoot some new ones for us. So stay tuned for those.
And for the writers, there's not a big tool requirement. I mean, you can bring anything you want to write on. I mean, paper, laptop. But if you think about yourself as maybe throwing something into a knapsack. In the morning when you're going to go out and take a hike someplace, and maybe you'll sit down on a rock and keep some notes. My only suggestion is to get a little notebook that has a hard cover on it to almost give you a little portable table, to write on. And I'll have a couple of recommendations. But other than that, a pen and that is all you kind of need. And if you do bring your laptop with you, that's something you'll just leave in your room and transfer your notes to that when you get back.
You can even write on your watercolors if you want.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. And I don't know how all of you in the group are feeling about this, but when Brian and I first did a trip like this, we encouraged the painters to do something with language if they wanted to try it.
Oh yeah.
And vice versa. And so that's when I first started, making watercolors. And so I'm bringing my watercolors with me, and I'm going to try little things too. And Brian even tried a little bit of writing when we did this last. So we're encouraging you to kind of follow your bliss in this respect, but don't be afraid to maybe cross a little boundary of genre or art form too.
No, I'd encourage that as well. I'm trying to think of something else that we need to say.
I think that's enough for now. Just stay tuned, for more little tidbits coming our way. I think I gave you some of the tips about Glasgow that I wanted that will suffice for now. Maybe some more of that stuff will be coming later. If you have been having trouble with your email, I'm trying on my side to fix it and make sure you get all the same messages everybody else gets. But if you are still having trouble, talk to your geeks, your Best Buy geeks, or whatever, the Geek Squad or whatever on your end to see if you can
or your grandkids
fix them. Or find any 15-year-old in your neighborhood and know how to fix it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So. One other thing. Oh crap! It just fell out of my head. If you know somebody that we have basically one spot open for a shared room.
Yeah.
So if you know somebody, share this video and that might help them realize that we're human and we're not, from another planet or something.
Yeah.
Or this isn't some internet scam thing.
Yeah.
So share this video with them if they're interested. Maybe that can kind of motivate them.
Yeah.
Or not.
And you can refer them to our
Yes.
emails if they want to know about the components of the trip. But if they want to know about the financials of the trip, then send them to Lori Moline's email.
But it's still possible to get on this trip. It's going to be an amazing
it's still possible.
trip. So
yeah. We did have to give up a room on Iona, so a whole set of 2 other people couldn't come, but we have this one person who could be helped out with a roommate.
So I think that's it, eh?
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.